The property, an unassuming duplex on Chase Street in West Pittston, Pennsylvania, a sleepy blue-collar town, blended with a neighborhood of suburban golden retrievers and tract homes. Its weathered wooden frame, set with a sloping roof, carried the centuries upon its antiquated surface, a hushed million secrets of what used to be, to those who dared to listen. It was a clean slate for Jack and Janet Smurl, a fixer-upper bought in August 1973 by Jack's parents, John and Mary Smurl, after their home in nearby Wilkes-Barre was damaged by Hurricane Agnes. Jack, Janet, and their two young daughters, Dawn and Heather, moved into the left side of the duplex, and John and Mary into the right. At first, it felt like a blessing, a chance to start over, to paint over the scars of the flood, to build a new life together. But behind the fresh paint and the hum of domestic routine, something old and evil was waking. Things started out innocently enough in January of 1974, just months after the Smurls had moved in. Weary of regular stains on the new carpet in the living room, Janet had noticed a strange stain blossoming, a dark, lumpy stain that no amount of scrubbing could remove. Her 4-year-old son felt the vibrations, as did 9-year-old sister, but she attributed it to the house's age, a quirk of its character. But then tools started going missing from Jack's workbench and reappearing days later in unusual places around the house. Under the stairs, on top of the refrigerator, in the attic, which had not been visited by anyone. The family dismissed the incidents as simple forgetfulness, but a creeping disquiet started to surround them. By the middle of 1975, the disturbances had become stranger still. The eldest daughter, Dawn, awoke her parents one night describing a shadowy figure hovering above her bed, pale and vague, moving like smoke and then dissipating into the dark. Jack and Janet told her it was a dream, but scratches that had appeared overnight on the new sink and bathtub defied explanation. One evening, a television set in the living room burst into flames, even though it was unplugged, releasing acrid smoke that clung to everything in the house. And the air would suddenly thicken with an acrid stench, an acrid mixture of rot and sulfur, that would come out of nowhere, only to disappear moments later. The Smurls said prayers under their breath, clung to their Catholic faith, but the house seemed to mock them. The disturbances faded for a time, lulling the family into a tenuous peace. Jack got a promotion at work. The girls flourished in school, and in 1985 Janet gave birth to twin daughters, Shannon and Karen. But the twins' arrival appeared to spark something dormant between the walls. The house grew restless. Footsteps resounded through vacant rooms, slow and purposeful, as if an invisible thing were walking there. Radios crackled with static-filled hymns, even went off, and drawers slammed with violent force. Cold spots blossomed like frost throughout the house, chilling the family to the bone, even on the hottest summer nights. One night in 1977, Janet was alone in the basement, folding laundry, when Janet heard her name whispered, a low guttural sound that slithered out of a shadow. She turned to see her heart racing, but no one there, only silence and the flickering glow of a naked bulb. 2 days after that, while she cooked dinner in the kitchen, a black, humanoid shape suddenly appeared before her. Tall and featureless, the edges shifting like heat rising off the asphalt. It hung for a moment, viscous with oppressive malice, and melted through the wall. On the other side of the duplex, Mary Smurl gasped when the same apparition came into her living room, having broken the sanctity of what they'd tried to forge. The entity or entities grew bolder. Dark, ominous shapes floated through the house, shapeless and heavy, trailing nothing but malaise behind them. Mary and Janet began to hear voices imitating one another. Janet believed she heard her mother-in-law call her name, while Mary insisted she overheard Jack and Janet arguing viciously, their words peppered with profanity, even when they were separated by miles. The family dog, A German shepherd named Simon whined and shrank, his fur spiked against invisible enemies. One night, a formless power seized him and slammed him against the wall, leaving a body-shaking thud. He lived, but his eyes had a haunted glint ever after. By 1985, the haunting had turned into an unending nightmare. One night, Janet woke with something pinning her to the bed and an icy pressure wrapping around her throat while invisible hands held her tighter. She fought to breathe, clawing at the void until the pressure let go and left her gasping and faintly bruised. Jack too fell victim. Splatting himself in bed next to Janet, he sensed an entity, a young woman, creeping seductively into his ear. Wife, he thought, and when he turned to her, he saw a shadow slide up her leg, its cold touch a lather of dread. A moment later, a light fixture became detached from the ceiling, crash-landing on Shannon and slicing her arm as she slept. Blood drenched the sheets, a terrible reminder of the entity's expanding strength. The Smurl's faith was their armor. They prayed fervently, holding rosaries, splashing holy water across the thresholds. Yet the house only mocked. Mirrors shook, furniture moved, and a guttural growl echoed from the walls. Janet said a malevolent being violated her while she slept, its touch impertinent and unholy. And Jack said he woke from one attack to scratches raking his chest and a burning bite on his face, both of which remained days later. The twins, not even toddlers, wailed uncontrollably as unseen hands violently rocked their cribs. In desperation, the Smurls contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren, famed demonologists whose names held serious clout in the realm of the paranormal. The Warrens came in early 1986, a glimmer of hope in the darkness. The duplex was said to have been very much alive with the past when Lorraine, a clairvoyant, entered, and frozen in place as her face went pale with the heaviness of the unseen. Days and hours of investigation later, she pronounced the house infested by 4 spirits: a harmless elderly woman, an unstable young girl, a tortured man who had perished in that place, and a demon, a malicious intelligence that manipulated the others like puppets to inflict torment on the Smurls. Ed Warren played religious music and began to recite prayers, his voice firm even as chaos exploded around him. Mirrors quaked, a cold wind screamed through shut windows, and a dark substance coalesced in front of him, a tornado of shadow and malice that scratched horrible messages on the glass. "Get out," it ordered, venom dripping from its words. The Warrens conducted exorcisms, summoning priests to cast the entity out, but the demon infected the home like a parasite, its power unchecked. The Smurls went public in 1986, hoping someone could rescue them. The media came swooping in like vultures, and Chase Street became a circus of flashing cameras and wide-eyed, rubbernecking crowds. Newspapers splattered their story on front pages, calling it Pennsylvania's Amityville. Skeptics snickered, dismissing delusions or a lust for fame, while the faithful clutched crucifixes and murmured prayers. The Roman Catholic Diocese of Scranton held back, reluctant to lend credence to the supernatural, but approved of a pair of exorcisms. During the rituals, the house itself groaned in what might have been pain. Pipes burst, walls shuddered, the stink of decay filled the air. And yet the thing survived, chuckling through the ruins. The Smurls fled at first, staying with relatives or camping in the woods, but the demon followed. At a campsite, Janet felt its chills seep into her shoulder as Jack saw its shadow in the trees. Back home, the fear continued. In 1987, Janet said there were knocks and shadows, an unending reminder of their tormentor's existence. The family's bond began to unravel. Jack's health worsened, his memory stolen by a previous case of meningitis. Janet's nerves snapped from the strain. The kids had silent scars, innocence laid to waste by the invisible. By 1988, the Smurls had had all they could take. They left behind Chase Street, moving to Wilkes-Barre in an attempt to flee. The house sat vacant until Deborah Owens moved in that year, her reporting undisturbed themselves, a seemingly black and white difference of living conditions that fueled skepticism. But for the Smurls, the nightmare continued. Footsteps and whispers echoed around them, in shadows and alcoves, but never before or after had they heard of such things as they heard now until a fourth exorcism, in 1989, sanctioned by the church, finally seemed to quiet the entity for good. The air was lighter, the shadows all gone, and the family sighed but would never forget, the scars remaining marked in their souls. Their story became, with the Warrens and journalist Robert Curran, a book, The Haunted, and in 1991, a TV movie that immortalized their ordeal. Critics said it was a hoax, that Jack's 1983 surgery for fluid on the brain, or psychological pressure, was the cause, but the Smurls held the line. To them, the duplex was a battleground where faith fought an ancient evil, a mystery that eluded explanation, the maggots of its truth buried in the shadows of Chase Street. The tale of the Smurl haunting, a cocktail of supernatural foreboding and human protagonism, remains an intensely divisive one. Was it a demon, awakened from sleep by the vigor of a growing family, or a projection of fear and trauma, amplified by faith? Now, the house on Chase Street lies in ruins, a forgotten piece of history folded away, but its legacy lives on. A maddening reminder that some mysteries refuse the light of day and remain forever in the untapped corners of what we don't know.